I walk into a room and people aren't talking and I see some people, it's like those kids at a middle school dance, everyone's on the walls.
You're a conversationalist.
But I will drag people together and create conversation. And if there's awkward silence, I will bring up your shoelaces to generate conversation out of anything.
Thanks for checking out this episode of the Rivers On Air, Off Air podcast. This is where the air team, the DJs that you hear on the river, bring some of those conversations off the air and have more of it. So glad to have you along. So here are our cast of characters today.
Hi, I'm Hannah from the River Morning Show.
I'm glad you said I thought you were just going to stop with hi.
I just thought about it.
Hello, I'm Haley from the River Afternoon Show.
And hello, friends, because it's Masters Week when we're recording this. Greg Murray Middays.
And I'm Josh from the River Morning Show. And at this recording and the release of this podcast, it is Easter weekend. The most important weekend in all of Christendom, as they say. I mean, Christmas is wonderful, but it doesn't matter without Easter. You have Good Friday, but that's not good without Easter. And so we are ready to celebrate. What I wanted to ask, though, because there are so many different parts of the Easter story besides the resurrection.
Yeah.
And we've gone through that all this week on the River Morning Show, the different things that were happening on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of Holy Week. What is your favorite part of the Easter story that's not the resurrection? We give that one the ultimate, of course.
Sure, yeah.
That one's perfect and it's the best. What's your favorite part besides that when you consider the entire Easter story?
Yeah, I really thought about this and I let it sink in. And I've decided that my favorite part, besides the big thing, is the rooster. I want a rooster. I want the rooster. Thank you, Haley. And here's why.
Okay.
Here's why.
Because you realize that that's a really tough part of the story.
It's a super tough part of the story.
Okay.
I do realize that it's not all cute feathers and such.
Exactly.
But how nice would it be if every time I messed up, there was a rooster on my shoulder going, dummy, dummy.
But then everyone else
Can we arrange that?
You know, it might keep me, on the straight and narrow more. I don't know.
Maybe that's why pirates had the parrots.
Maybe.
Tell me when I do something.
There's so much good in the Easter story. And yes, that has to do with Peter and his relationship with Jesus.
And his denial of even knowing Jesus.
There's a lot of depth there.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea of having a rooster conscience, I can never say that word.
Conscience.
It's like the devil and angel on your shoulder, rooster and
hen.
Sure. I don't know. I was like, yeah, you know what? The rooster. He's my man.
Wow.
That's my favorite part.
The way that you were leading into that, I knew it was going to be something interesting. You
knew it was going to be something
You did
dumb.
not disappoint.
I know what I'm getting you for your next birthday.
Yay!
That rooster.
You should get her a cuckoo clock, but it's a rooster instead.
Oh,
There we go. Yeah.
Instead of cuckoo, it'll say dummy.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Dummy.
Yes. Thank you.
So I guess mine is more of just like a day.
Okay.
I always think about Saturday, and it's what we've come to know as like Silent Saturday,
Mhm.
right? Just we know how the story ends now, but the people who were living in this time with Jesus had no idea.
Yeah.
Like they're utterly devastated. They've just watched this person that they love so much be murdered, and they're like, now what?
Mm-hmm.
And little do they know what's coming, the joy, the excitement, the salvation, all the things that are coming. And so like, I don't know, I always think about that because you can relate that to so many areas of life that you go through,
The waiting.
any waiting season.
Mhm.
Yeah. And it's like, we hear it of like your Sunday's coming, but
Mm-hmm.
I just think that's always so powerful. And on Saturday, I feel like that's always just like a really powerful moment, that Saturday before Easter, to kind of sit in that tension a little bit of the not knowing and try to wrestle through that and be okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my favorite part.
I think too, part of that is the fact that they stuck together.
Yeah.
That night when Jesus was arrested, they scattered and they all
Yeah.
went every of their own direction to save themselves. But something started to shift a little bit after watching all of that they were still together, even in their waiting, in their fear, in their doubt, confusion, and questions. They didn't abandon each other.
Mhm.
So I like that. It's a really unique perspective.
I mean,
it's a lot of power.
Rooster, but it's fine, I guess.
It's no rooster.
I guess it's
no rooster. It's true. It's true.
Roosters can be mean, so I'd like to move on.
I need it to be mean.
Okay.
I need it to challenge me to be a better person.
If it's on your shoulder,
Yeah.
it's going to peck your face off.
Maybe it's necessary. I don't know.
Maybe you deserve to have your face pecked.
You know when Hannah's had a bad week, she looks like Two-Face.
Yes. Yes.
Oh no!
I'm glad that Hannah injected a little bit of levity into a serious weekend because this way I don't look stupid.
Okay.
Well, we'll see.
And full credit to my senior minister, Jay, at our church, because he has brought this up before. And this was the first thing as I thought about this was it's, you know, as the disciples are telling this story in the Gospels, Jay brought this up once and it has stuck in my head every single year. This is John 20. I actually looked it up because I wanted to make sure I got it right.
Okay.
Peter and the other disciple started for the tomb. They ran side by side until the other disciple ran faster than Peter and got there first. It's like, hey, here's this big momentous event. And oh, by the way, I was there first. And then it goes on and then like that's verse 2. And then verse 6 is when Simon Peter got there, he went into the tomb and saw the strips of cloth. He also saw the piece of cloth. I'm sorry, it's verse 8. The disciple who got there first went into this. It's like not once, but I had to reiterate. By the way, I was there first.
Winner!
No big deal,
It's
but
like in all this serious, and that's the first thing that comes to my mind. And I go, okay, maybe I'm a little too serious about life in general that I need a little bit of levity inside this serious 3 days of Friday, Saturday, Sunday, right? So, sorry. I don't know if that goes rooster.
Not quite. You said that this in John, right?
Yeah, it's in John.
Yeah, so it's
like,
John writing about himself.
I got there.
I wonder if he had his first draft of his book of the Bible, and then his friends were like, dude, you did nothing but talk about the fact that you have to put it in.
Peter was quick. I was fast.
Yeah. So again, like I was saying, when I got there first, we found
humble brag.
Yeah, right. That's exactly it.
Now it doesn't really matter who got there first, but if it did, it was me.
Right.
So
in case you wondered, I think for me, it's something that happened on Friday. My favorite part of the Easter story. That's not the actual Jesus is alive part. When Jesus died and there was the earthquake, the veil in the temple was torn in half. And temples aren't something that we think about or really use at all in America or in the Christian faith. But the veil and the temple are extremely important for Israel and all that God had set up, going way back to Egypt and when they left and to go to the promised land. There was a veil that separated the people from the presence of God because they could not be in God's presence and live. Mm-hmm. He is perfect and holy and powerful. We are the opposite of all those things. And his very presence could not bear a sinful, regular human to be in that presence. He had to remind us of how special and important he is and how weak and frail we are. And so only one time a year could anybody go back there behind the veil to be in the very presence of God. And that was the high priest. When Jesus died, it literally ripped that in half. And it didn't rip it from bottom to top as though man could rip this away. It ripped from top to bottom. And this 18 feet tall, like this thing was huge and it was 4 inches thick. You know, it's not something that you or I could just shove aside. It was massive. And God said, I have made a way. I am ripping this thing in two, and you now have direct access to me. You don't need a high priest. You don't need a great pastor. You don't need anybody else to be your intermediary anymore. That's Jesus. And we have that direct access to God ourselves because of what Jesus did. And it's such an important picture because without that, then we are still stuck. But Jesus made a way where there was none.
You know, that reminds me, Josh, when you talk about that, if you'll look, God will take care of every single detail in the story.
Yeah.
The question of, okay, is it too perfect? Do we believe it?
Yep.
Is I think for a lot of people, a stumbling block. It's like, now this is too perfect.
Yeah.
These people wrote this after the fact. They wrote these so-called facts, right, in this story instead of this historical account, right?
Right, yeah, it's different.
Because how could every single detail be taken care of?
Because God was writing the story from the very beginning.
Right.
Yeah. And that's,
and that's where faith,
right,
where you make that leap into faith.
And last encouragement, the Old Testament is just as important as the New Testament. Please don't neglect the Old. Because in the New, all the stuff doesn't make any sense without understanding the Old first.
And the Old talks about the New.
Absolutely, it does. So happy Easter, and look for those different things this year maybe. And of course, go nuts when we celebrate the resurrection of Jesus, because without that, nothing else matters. But the other little nuances and pieces, they're not there by mistake. And God didn't waste a single word when he wrote all of this out for us. So happy Easter there. Something else that
I can just hear Hannah's rooster right now. More ham, more ham.
Yeah. It's like the cows for Chick-fil-A. Eat more chickens.
Exactly.
The chickens also say eat more ham.
Yeah, eat more ham.
No, they're just all against each other.
If the pigs are talking
Barnyards
about
are crazy.
cows, then we have a cycle. It goes all the way through. Something we are not good at as people, but we've talked about this on the show, is acknowledging the good things that we do or the good people that we are. Now, I'm throwing all of you a quick curveball. We have this little feature on the morning show called You're Awesome. We have prepared ways that each of us is awesome. I'm going to talk about each one, and we're all going to talk about each other. I want to go around the room, though. What's one reason you're awesome? Yourself.
Yourself. Tell us to prepare that.
Because I didn't want you to think too hard about it, because you all have so many things that are so awesome about yourselves. So what's one thing?
That's nice of you.
And it's not a brag. This is who God has made you or what God has done. So why are you awesome? So you have somebody's got to go first.
I'll go.
Okay.
I'll go. So I'm a really big believer in this, that your greatest weakness is also your greatest strength, or can be. It's kind of like two sides of the same coin. And so that's how I'll caveat what I'm about to say about myself is I think I'm someone who has really high standards. I want everything to be excellent and awesome, and I will work so hard to accomplish that. Sometimes to a fault. So that's how I will caveat. But I can truly say that about myself, that I think I'm a hard worker, and I really strive for excellence in all the things that I do.
Good.
So
I'll dovetail off of that, because I think I'm similar.
You want to echo my echo?
What's that?
You want to echo my echo?
Echo.
I echo your prayer.
Don't adjust the needle on your record. It's skipping. I will say that I am ferociously motivated.
I would agree with that.
I would agree with that too about
if
you.
If I set my mind to something, I will figure out a way to make it work.
Yeah.
That's good.
No.
I think for me, I'm a good dad. You know, I see the world without a lot of good dads, and I want to be one. And only by the grace of God can I'm not perfect. Oh my goodness. I couldn't write a book on how to do it, but I love my children, and they know I love them and that I would do anything for them. So I would say I'm a good dad to my 4 kids.
Pressure's on.
Right.
I will talk about your shoelaces. I will fill the conversation. Is one thing I feel like God has talented me with, given me. Yes, I would like if there is
her spiritual gift is to
Josh's
talk.
shoe is now on the table.
Do it now.
If I cannot, I can. But
You can.
The point being, if I walk into a room and people aren't talking, and I see some people, it's like those kids at a middle school dance. Everyone's on the walls.
You're a conversationalist.
But I will drag people together and create conversation. And if there's awkward silence, I will bring up your shoelaces to generate conversation out of anything.
That's cool.
But the same thing as
That's
you,
really cool.
Haley. It also means I don't know when to be quiet sometimes. But I will create conversation out of your shoelaces. So beware.
So let's do it this way. Let's start with Greg. So we all talk about Greg first, and then we'll just kind of cycle around.
Okay.
Haley, why don't you go first? Something awesome about Greg.
So it's funny that you kind of said what you said about yourself, because I feel like it kind of relates to what I was going to say about you.
Are you going to echo my echo?
I'm going to echo of my echo.
We're in an echo chamber.
No, Greg is one of the most joy-filled people that you will ever come into contact with. Like, he will always be excited to see you. He is like a golden retriever
Yes.
personality.
It's so true.
My wife calls me her lab.
It just makes so much sense.
Like he will always be so excited to see you. He'll always make you feel like he's excited to see you. He just brings excitement and passion to literally whatever he's doing.
So
thank you.
So much joy from Greg.
The word I literally wrote down for Greg was dynamic.
Yes.
So, yes, I echo your echo to echo and everything echoing. And
if I don't echo this, I'm going to miss something.
Yeah.
Greg is dynamic. You picked an incredible wife to have a life with.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
She is my
through
balance.
that, but you guys are like a powerhouse couple that just ooze generosity and community. You guys are like
Thank
the
you.
epitome of that.
Thank
So
you.
that's what I think of when I think of Greg and his little fam.
I wrote down similarly, but not an echo. You're in it to win it, but you are in it for others to win it.
Yeah.
You put forth so much effort and inclusion in the things you do that you guys, you and your wife, you don't go alone. You bring everybody with you on everything that you try to accomplish, whether it's the Alzheimer's events that you guys do or your production company or being on the radio and the listeners coming along with you and the different things that you guys accomplish. It's for and with others, and then you work with others so they can realize their dreams. And whether that's through your Dave Ramsey and financial coaching stuff, and I know you're marriage counseling at least one couple right now, and they rave about you and all of that. You are in it to win it, but you're in it for others to win it too. And I think that's really important. It's a huge distinction.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't want me to be last. So
I want Josh to go next.
So this is weird as the host today.
You know what? This is really
Everyone
good
talk
though.
about me.
I was thinking about this. Knowing
I-
that like we were going to all have to say stuff about each other, I was like, this is going to be really good practice for receiving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so hard sometimes
it's
to
the
hear
worst.
people
no
say,
caveats.
Yeah, it's so
awkward.
hard to accept good things about yourself sometimes. So this is good practice.
I had
It is.
to force, as you guys just went, I had to force myself to
receive it.
You did
shut
really
up.
good.
No, to shut up.
I was impressed.
and not make.
I will probably
because
hide under the table.
My reaction is to make some funny comment
make
to
a joke.
deflect it.
For sure.
To deflect it, and it's hard. You're right.
Yeah.
It's hard to
Yeah.
receive.
Okay,
All right,
Josh. are you ready?
Joshua.
I don't like the look on anyone's face in here, but
Should I
go
start?
ahead.
Yes.
Okay. Josh has the biggest little heart on
Biggest
the planet.
little heart.
Biggest little heart. I don't even understand how his heart contains all that is in it because it's hearts aren't that big. But
About the
his
size of my fist?
is. Yeah, you just have so much stuffed in there full of love. And people talk about having rose-colored glasses on. You have Jesus-colored glasses, whatever that looks like. Josh sees through Jesus lenses more than most or all people that I know. And it's a trait that I wish I had more of, to see through your lenses that are Jesus's lenses.
I am wearing glasses right now.
Yeah.
So again, like Greg, the thing you said about yourself was actually kind of what I was going to say about you.
Yeah.
If there's one thing I know about Josh Hooper, it's that he loves his family so fiercely. Like some people, you hear them talk about their spouses or their kids, and you're like, do you actually like them? Like, you just like,
home life okay?
Yeah, it's like, I know you love them, but do you like them?
Yeah.
And so with Josh, there's never been a question in my mind like your heart is for your family. You live that out. So I think that's really awesome.
Thank you.
Well, Hannah took my first one. Haley took my second one.
That's okay. You can just
So
say
I really don't have anything nice
Greg
to
has
say
to
about
go
it.
first on someone else.
So there have been so many things when it came to Josh, but I will say that Josh is without a doubt one of the best humble servant leaders that I have ever worked with. And it doesn't come from a whole bunch of I went to a whole bunch of conferences and a whole bunch of book knowledge. It comes directly from Josh's heart.
It's a big little heart.
Big little heart.
If you're listening to this podcast and you don't know, Josh is just not the host, one of the hosts of the River Morning Show. Josh is the program director of this radio station. So Josh is responsible for making sure that everything that goes on this radio station, everything that you hear is acceptable and fits into what this radio station does. But he leads the people that he works with, including myself, with such a servant heart that you can't help but love to work with him. Please never fire me.
Anyway, so we have a meeting after this.
Yeah.
As long as it doesn't start with, we want to wish you luck in your future endeavors.
Right. Thank you all very much. I'm red in the face because that's what happens to me. All right, moving on. All right, so Hannah is in the spotlight next. And I will go first.
Yeah, go first.
We've had at least one of these each time around so far. So Hannah, what you said about yourself is what I put down here, because you have such a way of connecting with people. They feel important and known immediately. And that is hard for people to do. Like, you could go in and just talk, but you go in and you see and hear and notice and include. So it's easy to fill dead space. You fill that space with love and genuine care for people. So that's important.
Thanks, Josh.
The awkwardness is setting in.
I'm not good at this.
No, we're a little over halfway through. Keep it going, people. Keep it going.
That was so nice.
I may coin a new term. Hannah is a nuclear power plant of positivity.
Yeah, there you go.
Positivity oozes from you.
She's oozing.
I've not heard you utter a negative
oozing
word about somebody. I've not heard you. You just have this energy about you of whether it's getting things done right, getting things done and having fun doing it, or encouraging other people. That just gives you this unbelievable, if literally I just want to touch the corner of your cloak.
Wow.
So that I can get a little more of that positivity.
Hannah's no touchy, so
Yeah,
good
no
luck.
touchy. And I rarely do laundry, so you don't want to touch any clothes that I'm wearing.
So if you could just let one of your shoelaces out.
There we go.
We'll
Back
call
to
it
the
even.
shoelaces
So,
with Hannah.
Greg.
nuclear power
Thanks.
plant
Oh,
of
wow.
positivity.
That's good. That's a good little term there. I like it. My thing for Hannah is, I think, like, if Hannah's in charge of something, I feel so confident. And I just love, like, you're just so trustworthy when it comes to getting things done. And I so appreciate that, because as someone who's like very task oriented, it's just like, okay, oh, Hannah's running that thing. She's got it. Like, no questions asked. I have full confidence in you. So it's really cool to be on a team with someone like that, who you can just go like, okay, I don't have to worry about this at all, because she's just going to rock star it right now. So thanks for being that way, because it's awesome.
Cup runneth over.
Yeah.
Cup runneth over. Feels. So many feels.
3 out of 4. So Haley is last. Greg, why don't you go first?
Okay. I'm going to back into this.
Yep, that's fine.
I don't think I ever want to see Haley in a bad mood.
Okay, tread lightly, sir. Tread lightly.
I don't
so
know
excited to hear where this
Haley
goes.
in a bad mood if they would find the body, right?
You've seen tornado damage, right?
Exactly. I saw the damage that Ian left down in Florida. Haley is always in a good mood. It always seems that if I see Haley, she's got a smile on her face, even if she's busy. Haley loves her life.
Yeah.
I think she enjoys her life, whether she's quote unquote working because it's not necessarily work to her, or whether she's out doing something, or whether she's dealing with Jace. When they are together, they genuinely seem to enjoy themselves. Whenever I see Haley, she seems to be in a good mood. Do you ever get in a bad mood?
Oh yeah, Greg. Oh yeah.
Has anybody seen Clinton? Like,
Where's her hubby?
I would say, like, I think most people have dealt with a terrible team building event before, and it just was awful and awkward, and the corporate world stinks. You need Haley. I don't want Haley to ever leave, but maybe we could just loan her out for a minute to make your event better. She is in charge here at the River of what we call team fun. And everything that has been said about Haley comes out in the team events we do.
Yes.
They are so fun and so unique and so well thought out. And your high standard shows in the care you have for everyone else, because we all have a blast and you're the one who set the thing up. So I am so appreciative of working in a place that views our teammates as family, and you set things up for us to enjoy each other and get to know each other a way a family member would. And to me, that is a huge deal, because otherwise it's sterile and it's boring and it's corporate. But it's not with you. It's family and it's caring and it's well considered. And that is something, because of who you are, that is how those things go. So I always, when Team Fun shows up in my email inbox, I'm like, yes, what are we doing next? This is going to be a blast.
Right.
So it's really good.
And the reason we can trust her with all those things, besides everything you just said, is also because she's just really incredibly smart and cool.
Yes.
Haley walks into a room and you're like, how do I be more like Haley? I mean, she's wearing a brown blazer with a scarf around her neck.
Yeah.
You are somehow always effortlessly and naturally suave. Can you say that for a girl?
She has shoulder pads too. We talked about that on the show this week.
She has shoulder pads, but not just in fashion, not just in style. Like, you walk into a room and you know that if you walk beside Haley, you're in good company, that you'll be taken care of, and that you're going to feel like this presence of confidence. You are a confident person. You're an inviting person. You're an encouraging person. And you do it so effortlessly. You never make it feel like it's a task that you have to include somebody. It just is who you are. Yeah. And it makes, we're the same age, but it makes me want to be like Haley when I grow up.
And Haley's real, because she's got the blazer on, but I just happened to notice she's wearing Chucks too.
Yep. Yeah. It's just effortless. Cool. Like, she doesn't even try, and she's just so cool. And so, yeah, be like Haley when you grow up.
Oh my goodness. Thank you all.
As you listen to this, my hope is that you thought of some things about yourself and or your family and friends, and all the ways that they and you are awesome.
This is a good dinner time conversation.
It is.
What's one good thing about you, and then go around the table.
What I want us to take away from this is not only we all need the reminder that we are loved, and we are loved by the people we interact with. And it's not like God loves us. Yes, we know. It's easy to kind of shove that off, but do the people around us love us? Yes, they do. But all the good things that were just said about each of us, that is how God sees you. Remember that, because all of it is true. And it's not just one person noticed and said a nice thing because we had to. These are things that God impresses on people because of who each of us are. And as you listen, who you are too. So God's thoughts about you are as endless as the sand on the seashore. And he smiles when he sees your face, child. Always remember that. And all the good things about you, it's because God put them there. Now go rock that and be you today. Thanks for listening to this episode of the On Air, Off Air podcast with The River.
This podcast is another River Impact production. You can find more podcasts like this one at riverradio.com. And if you like what you're hearing, make sure to subscribe wherever you're listening now. And be sure to tell a friend so they can listen too.